Okay, I'm going to make a real quick video recap on today's trade. The market over the last few weeks hasn't really been all that interesting for my niche. It's kind of just slowed down a lot. There hasn't been very many stocks that have really ripped higher. There's not been a huge amount of larger stocks that have caught momentum at really key levels. So recently it's been kind of a sit back and wait for what's really good, and try not to get caught up in the chop that inevitably can happen. And I've done an okay job of that. Today, I think I got a little bit more lucky that I avoided some things because there were setups that I just missed that didn't work out. But we'll go through it. I'll go through my watch list real quick. So I had quite a few things on watch which I think might have hampered me a little bit as well. I was possibly looking at a few too many things, a few too many different ideas. I quite liked AVCT. We were gapping up a bit today, and I thought if we could just get a spike at the open that could fail. I'll bring this over here so we can't see what the day actually did. I thought if we could spike a little bit and fail, there was the opportunity to sell off. It's not my favorite pattern when we've already had one day coming down, because I think there's going to be shorts who could get squeezed, but there was potential on it. BFRI I really liked. This was probably my number one play of the day. I possibly could have got a trade on it, but oh well. Idea being that if we could push up, try to take out the all-time high or maybe just that 14 area, fail, then we could roll over. I know that there are a lot of shorts in this. It's quite a high percentage of shorts have the float, but there's also going to be a lot of people who bought this sort of mess around here and maybe a bag holding from up here. So I figured that if this could sort of like give me a fail push higher, I'd like to see a move lower. BVXV didn't do anything in the end. ENSC, I quite like the short potential. It was probably a play that yesterday gave, or not yesterday, last Thursday would have probably given the best opportunity. Whenever I see a stock close red, I'm like, this is probably weak and we'll probably roll over, but we're quite away from the highs now. So it was more if we could spike and give us an opportunity to get in, but it wasn't very likely to get a play off of it. GNFT, I really like the look of. Unfortunately, the volume has just completely died on this one. But I thought if we could get below this $5 mark, there was a good chance that we'd get a bit of a crack. Anybody who did buy during this period would probably, when $5 broke, get out of it. So we might see, I thought there might be a quick wash below 5, maybe catch 20 cents out of it. MBOT was gapping up, so just keeping an eye on that to see what was going on. NXTD is quite an interesting one. It has a history of these massive runs and pullbacks. So when I see this sort of stock in play, I do get excited knowing that it has the potential. And this is the one I got a little bit lucky on, which I'll go through. Thought process was that if we could push into these highs here, this sort of like 430 kind of area, and reject, then to look for a short and for it to roll over. And then finally SOPA. This one was really nice. It was just as good as BFRI, really. Massive first day, holding day, big second day. Again, yesterday or Thursday would have probably been the better opportunity to get involved in because it had that push up to 22. But with this one, we are still up a massive amount. I think we're still up like 300 and something% at the open, which is going to be around about the 14 area. So yeah, still up 350% on this. So there was still a big opportunity for it to come down quite a lot. And then the only trade I took was actually on SOPA. What I really liked with this one as well was this support area at 1550 that had been established a couple of days ago and was also Thursday's low. I really liked that we were opening below that. I was watching for a spike into that kind of area, which we got exactly. I don't short into spikes because I find the win percentage begins to drop a little bit. You're kind of just guessing that that's going to be the top, which isn't a bad approach at all. Just for me, I've always sucked at that. So I was looking for it to have a failed spike, pull back, ideally not take out low of day. In this case, it did, and that was getting short into VWAP. So I took it short right in here. I think I actually got this green candle. I got short right in here, and originally I was risking to the high of day. I took 100 shares at I think it was like 14.47 originally. So I was risking around about $100. Once it had this sort of failed squeeze higher, came back down and was chilling out in the sort of like low 14s, I decided that I would reduce my risk to $15. That cut it in half, so I only had $50 risk at that point. When it then took out low of day, I added into the position, doubled my position distance, and so 200 shares at about 14.16 average, I think it was. And my risk at that point was then cut down to like 14.50, I think. So I was keeping the risk around about the same, $80, $90, I think it was. And then the way I get out of positions is I look at the 5-minute chart and look for support areas. So the support area around 13.05. The next one wasn't until 11.82. So I always then strive to hold for that support level and ideally get a crack of that level. In this instance, I didn't really do the best job I could have done, I don't think. It was okay. It took out the low of day, flagged, held below it, cracked down to 13.50, held, and on this dump here, it began getting bought up, and I thought we've kind of already had a decent move from where we got in. From the 14.47 area, I got out at 13.19, I think it was. That's $1.30 almost that we got on that. So I was like, that's a decent move considering we added and it's been a little bit slow. Had I waited another minute, obviously we'd have had this really nice move, and it doesn't look like much, but that's around about a 70-cent move. So that could have been pretty good. I took half the position off, locked in just under $100. My next target, as you can see, wasn't until sort of like the low 12s. Unfortunately, we didn't get down there. Put in double bottom and came back around. I did actually add back into this one. I took 100 shares at like 13.88. It's not something I'm really that happy with, but I took it thinking that if we just had this quick wick up here, sellers came back in and we got back down to 13.55 and continued the downtrend lower, it was a sort of trade where I had $13 risk on 100 shares, and if we got back down to low of day, it's a $130 gain. So give myself incredible risk reward without really affecting the trade itself. And I stopped out the whole position then at 14.01, which meant that the total profit was $99. But after fees and borrows, that comes down to pretty much $90. The only other opportunity, well, there were two other opportunities which I'll very quickly go through. This is where I got lucky. NXTD had exactly what I said I wanted it to do. Take out that sort of 433, fail to continue. It's exactly what we had. This was a short trigger, and I just stopped watching this once it, I can't remember why, but I think once it took out this low here, I sort of thought, well, maybe this is just going to tank, and I began looking at other things. So I missed getting in here. And then I also missed adding through the $4 mark. So, in looking back at this, I'd have been in probably 424 with 500 or 400 shares, I think originally I was going to take. And then I'd have added more, probably 300 shares, and would have been stopped out up here. So would have taken a full loss on that one. Legitimate setup, it just didn't work out. So I think I got pretty lucky there. I also didn't take it in here, and this one wouldn't have been a full-size loss, but it kind of got under VWAP and was shopping, and I had the shares ready for both of for this one, and missed it, and I was like, damn, that's a shame. It did end up giving a bit of a move. I'd have been short 437, initially risking around about 25 cents. Once it took out these lows here and certainly got down to this area, I'd have probably cut the risk down to 10 cents or whatever, so it wouldn't have been a massive loss or anything. But it just goes to show that sometimes you can be lucky in the stock market in respect of, I had probably three legitimate signals. This NXT one and the second one I don't like as much, but three good enough signals that I think are profitable. Only one of them worked, and I happened to only take that one trade, so definitely was a little bit fortunate with that. And then the only other one which maybe I could have done a little bit better on was BFRI. But again, even here I got lucky. I did a bad thing where I tried to go long on this break here, thinking, well, we take out the $14 mark, we take out yesterday's highs, we push to 14.63, and this thing could really get a squeeze on. Wasn't in my plan. For whatever reason, I think my internet cut out just before the market opened, so maybe my broker software disconnected and doesn't automatically reconnect. It didn't allow me to buy the position. There was a scary few moments where I was making sure I wasn't in a position. I wasn't, so had a bad trade, wasn't triggered. That would have been another full loss. So yeah, very, very fortunate today in that respect. This one wasn't a great trade, but I think all of these probably are profitable in the long run. Even this one here, the potential for it to squeeze. The reason I think I could have done a bit better on this though is when I look at it, I was very, very short bias on this one. It's trading very near the top of its range. It's kind of close to being an A plus short opportunity because we've had this kind of breakout from, I mean, you could even say here, and it's up 135%. Even if you went from here, yeah, we're still up 72%. And crucially, we're only around about 10% off the highs. So it means that there are a lot of people who are long and a lot of people who are long around here, or even bag holders from here, they've got an opportunity to get out here. And as soon as there's any weakness, they're going to think, oh my God, this is going to start pulling back. So when there's an opportunity to get short near the high of one of these moves, the potential is always bigger. So if had I been just 100% like I'm only looking for a short, which is how I should have been on this one, it did kind of give a signal. Chops around initially, it kind of like pushes, pulls back, holds, pushes again, fakes out, comes back down. The thing that stopped me here was the fact that it was holding the 50 EMA. It's holding the previous close. It's starting to, even early on, it was starting to form this sort of like potential for an uptrend. I think this was a okay signal. It's probably one that like I'm glad I didn't take because it's not A plus, but the potential was there. Had we got in 13.29 and said, okay, fine, take 100 shares at 13.29, cut the risk down a little bit, give it like 70 cent or so, and say we've got 70% risk. If we get an opportunity to add through 12.90, great. I would have done in this instance for sure. I would have probably said, okay, we take that out. I'm expecting to get a big move. We could cut it down to 13.50 or whatever. So we could have been in a situation where we could have had 200 shares at like a, I don't know, like a 13.10-ish average, I think. 13.10 average, risking 80 bucks or so. And yeah, it ended up giving a really nice move. You go to the 5 minute and we go, first support level was probably around here. So we came right into that at $12. So that's, you know, locking in 100 bucks. My next support target, I would have seen this and been pretty excited. I don't know if that's a bit ambitious. Most likely I would have said $11. It's this high here as well. So we came into the $11 area, probably taken another 50 out there. So could have easily locked in a couple hundred on this one. So there was that, but that was there. It wasn't all that exciting. At the moment, it is a case of just sitting back and waiting for the best plays, not getting too ahead of ourselves, and just waiting for the best plays. I think I did an okay job of that today. Got a little bit fortunate, but overall, pretty happy with it.